Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we are going to strip away the hype from a term that is really starting to dominate tech circles. I'm talking about Agentic Commerce. You've probably heard it thrown around, in pitch decks or on Twitter, usually with some wild sci-fi predictions.
Oh, for sure.
But we aren't interested in the sci-fi. We're interested in the plumbing. We have a stack here, a technical breakdown of the Universal Commerce Protocol, or UCP, and it paints a picture of a future that is, well, surprisingly close.
It is close. And honestly, it's probably the most significant shift in how money moves on the internet since we figured out how to encrypt a credit card number back in the 90s.
Wow. That is a big claim. But before we get into the protocol, let's set the stakes. We're asking you to imagine a world where shopping, as we know it, the scrolling, the filtering,
Shuffling.
all of it just disappears. You aren't navigating a UI. You're just telling an AI agent, get me a flight to Tokyo under $800, and it executes.
Exactly. It negotiates, it pays, it handles the logistics. The premise is that the user is no longer a human with a mouse. The user is a piece of software.
Right.
But, and this is the big but we're unpacking today, the current internet is absolutely terrified of that idea. It wasn't built for it.
Not at all. And the cover image of this presentation we're looking at, it captures that perfectly. It's this chaotic jumble of shapes, cubes, spheres, all just floating there.
It looks like database just exploded.
It does. And then slicing right through the middle is this solid, structured blue beam.
And that chaos is the reality of digital commerce today. It is fragmented. It's a mess.
Yeah.
And that blue beam, that's the protocol. It's the infrastructure designed to force some order on all that chaos.
So these AI agents can actually work without, breaking everything.
Exactly.
Okay, so let's back up. The source material leads with something called the interface shift. It argues we're in this three-phase evolution. Phase one was the browser era.
The .com boom. This is all passive discovery. You, the human, sit at a desktop, you type in a URL, you browse a catalog. The intelligence is entirely on your side of the screen.
You're doing all the work.
You are.
Yeah.
Then we hit phase two, mobile. And I feel like we're still kind of stuck there. The presentation calls it the era of app silos.
Right.
And this is important because in a lot of ways, phase two was a step backward for interoperability. Sure, it's convenient, but everything is trapped inside a walled garden.
An app for this, an app for that.
Exactly. You want groceries, you open the Instacart app. You want shoes, you open the Nike app. They don't talk to each other. They're just isolated little data islands.
Which brings us to phase three, Agentic Commerce. The visual here is what, a robot shaking hands with a graph?
Yeah, signifying active negotiation.
Yeah.
We're moving away from you tapping on glass to you just delegating a task to an agent. But for an agent to work, it can't be stuck inside one app. It needs to be able to roam.
Okay, but this is where we hit the wall. If I tell my AI, find me that specific vintage lamp, it might know what the lamp looks like, but it has no standard way to ask 1,000 different stores if they have it.
That is the core problem. And the source has a diagram here that's honestly a little anxiety-inducing. It's titled the Scalability Barrier.
But it's really showing what they call the NXN integration bottleneck.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm looking at this. On the left, retailers A, B, C. On the right, all the AI platforms, Gemini, ChatGPT, Claude.
Wow.
And in the middle, it's a spider web.
It is a complete spider web.
Yeah.
And that represents the current reality of API integration. Right now, if a retailer wants to be purchasable by ChatGPT, they have to build a custom connection just for OpenAI.
Okay.
But then if they also want to be on Google's Gemini, that's a completely different integration, different code, different maintenance.
And another one for Meta's AI and another for Mistral. And the AI platforms have to do the same thing in reverse for every store, right?
Precisely. That is the NXN problem. The number of connections required becomes exponential. The source calls it integration hell. And for once, that's not hyperbole. It's operationally impossible to scale.
And the consequences are pretty grim. Fragmented logic, security holes, slow deployment. It basically means unless you're Amazon, you just get left behind.
Right. And from your perspective, as a listener, it means your smart AI is actually pretty dumb. It can write a poem, but it can't book you a haircut.
So the industry hits a breaking point, and this is where the Universal Commerce Protocol comes in. We turn the page, and that spider web is just gone.
It's a very satisfying after picture, isn't it? You see that unified communication layer. It's that tall blue block sitting right in the middle of everything.
The one connection model.
Right. The logic is simple but profound. Retailers build one connection to the UCP standard. That's it. On the other side, the AI platforms also connect to the protocol.
So it's like a universal translator.
Effectively, yes. A shoe store doesn't need to know or care which AI agent is asking for shoes. It just speaks UCP, and it's instantly available to every agent on the network.
This reminds me of the shipping container analogy. You know, before the standard box, loading a ship was a total nightmare.
Yeah.
But software isn't a metal box. It's messy. How does this actually work technically? Because standardization is really hard to pull off.
That's the million-dollar question. How does a bot actually know what a store sells without just scraping the website? And the mechanism revolves around something called the JSON Manifest.
Okay, I have the code snippet here. And for non-coders, JSON is just a structured text format computers can read. But this isn't just a product list, right? I'm seeing things like product search and dynamic discount.
Exactly. Think of the manifest as a digital menu. When an agent hits a retailer's domain, it asks for this manifest. And the manifest says, here is the exact digital address where you can search my inventory. Here's where you can create a cart. Here's where you can negotiate a price.
Negotiate is the key word. We're not just serving up static web pages here.
Not at all. And to make sure everyone understands each other, they use a shared commerce language broken down into what the source calls common primitives.
Primitives. So, the basic building blocks, we have 4 icons here. Walk us through them.
First, you have Discovery the magnifying glass. This standardizes how a bot asks, do you have running shoes in a size 10?
Okay.
Then you have Consideration the scales. This is where it gets interesting. This covers the back and forth. I have size 10, but it's $150. The bot can then check for coupons or calculate shipping using a standard method.
Then the server rack icon, that's session management.
Crucial. A website uses a cookie to remember who you are. Bots don't really work that way. This makes sure that if the bot says, add that to the cart, the store knows which cart we're talking about.
And finally, the credit card. Checkout.
The execution. The standardized instruction to move money. By locking these 4 things down, you get rid of the ambiguity. Add to cart means the exact same thing to everyone involved.
This sounds incredibly efficient, but I have to play the skeptic. I mean, my smart speaker struggles to set a timer half the time.
Yeah.
Now we're talking about giving these agents my bank account details. The potential for disaster seems high.
It's the sorcerer's apprentice problem. You tell the broom to fetch water, and suddenly the house is flooded. Is it safe? Is the primary barrier to adoption.
So how does UCP stop my bot from accidentally buying 500 pounds of cat food?
The source addresses this under trust at scale. And it's baked into the architecture, relying on what it calls cryptographic proof of user consent.
Break that down for us. What does cryptographic actually mean here?
It means the bot cannot initiate a transaction on its own authority. It needs a digital signature that originates from you, the user. When it gets to the checkout part, it has to present a token that proves you explicitly authorized that specific transaction.
So it's kind of like a smart contract.
A similar concept, yeah. It's verifiable. The retailer doesn't just trust the bot, they verify the signature. So automation does not mean a loss of control. It enforces a human in the loop for the critical moment of spending money.
Okay, it does make me feel a little better. But let's move from theory to reality. Is this actually running anywhere? Or is this just a nice PowerPoint deck?
It is in production. The case study here is labeled UCP in production, and the partner is Google.
Right, we have a screenshot. It's a mobile search for best running shoes for marathon training.
But look at the result. It's not a standard list of blue links. You see an AI snapshot with the Brooks Ghost 15 shoe, but look at the price tag.
Whoa. It says $120 crossed out from $150. And there's a specific label, real-time dynamic discount applied.
That label is the game changer. Think about what had to happen for that to appear. That wasn't a sale price someone typed in yesterday. The AI agent queried the retailer's JSON manifest. It signaled high intent this user is ready to buy. And the retailer's back-end logic, using the UCP consideration primitive, decided in milliseconds, if we drop the price by $30, we close this sale right now.
Wow. So it's basically bringing the dynamic pricing of airline tickets to buying sneakers.
Exactly. The price becomes a negotiated variable, not a static number. The store is bidding for your business in real time through the agent.
That's powerful, but it must be terrifying for retailers if they don't have control. Which brings us to the ecosystem slide. Who's actually signing up for this?
It's a pretty heavy-hitting lineup. It's an industry coalition. You've got Google, obviously. But look at the retailers.
I see Shopify, Etsy, Wayfair, Target, Walmart.
That mix is significant. You have Shopify representing millions of small businesses right next to Walmart. They don't usually agree on much.
And Visa and MasterCard are there too.
So why would they all join? For retailers, the incentive is what the source calls distribution without disintermediation.
A very specific business school phrase.
It basically means we want to sell our stuff on these new AI platforms, but we refuse to become invisible. They need to remain the merchant of record. They want the transaction data, the customer relationship.
They don't want to just be a warehouse for the AI overlords.
Precisely. UCP guarantees the AI is just the channel, not the shop. The retailer keeps full control over their business logic. That's the only way a company like Target would ever agree to this.
And for the developers building these agents,
For them, it's about zero lock-in. The protocol is open source. We can see the documentation site, ucp.dev. By building to an open standard, a developer doesn't need a business deal with Walmart. If they both speak UCP, the connection just works.
it really is infrastructure. It's not flashy, but it enables everything else. The final visual in the stack is this futuristic infinite bridge. The future of trade is standardized.
It's a clean image for a messy problem. It solves the fragmentation crisis. It lets retailers scale without rebuilding their whole tech stack every 6 months.
So, let's zoom out. We started this imagining a world where we don't scroll, where we just ask for things and they appear. It seems like UCP is the language that makes that world possible.
It is. It's the connective tissue. And when you remove the friction of the interface, when buying becomes as easy as speaking commerce becomes ambient, it's not a task you do anymore. It just happens.
Which is exciting, but it also it changes the entire psychology of consumption. And this is where it gets really interesting for me.
How so?
Well, think about brand loyalty or impulse buying. Retailers spend billions on pretty packaging and nice fonts on their website. They want to trigger that emotional, I need that feeling.
Right, the shiny object effect.
But if the customer is an AI agent negotiating via a JSON manifest, the agent doesn't care about the font.
It doesn't care about the celebrity endorsement.
No, the agent cares about the data. Is this the correct spec? Is the price right? Is the delivery time guaranteed?
And that is the billion-dollar question. It potentially purifies the market. It shifts competition from who has the best marketing to who has the best actual value. If your product is mediocre, an AI agent might see right through that.
It commoditizes everything, which is great for efficiency, but maybe a little soulless.
It might be, but it also forces brands to be better. You can't hide behind a flashy website. If your underlying data says your shipping is slow and your price is too high, the algorithm will just route around you.
A fascinating future to think about. The internet is becoming less of a library for humans and more of a database for machines. For those of you who want to see the nuts and bolts, the documentation is live. You can find it at ucp.dev.
It's definitely worth a look. The train is leaving the station, and you probably want your business to be speaking the right language when it arrives.
Thanks for listening to this deep dive into the Universal Commerce Protocol. We'll catch you on the next one.